Taurus, something is shifting and it's not just around you. It's inside you. You've been carrying the weight of something for longer than you'd like to admit. Maybe it's felt like walking with your feet in wet concrete. Maybe it's been a quiet frustration that rises and falls but never truly leaves. Or maybe it's shown up as a hesitation, a loss of motivation, a strange feeling that no matter how much you push forward, something keeps holding you just below the surface of where you know you're meant to be. And now, just as you were beginning to accept this stuckness as the new normal, something is about to break quietly, completely, and divinely on time. Within the next 48 hours, an energetic block that has kept you confined is dissolving. Not because you forced it, not because you chased something down, but because the moment has arrived. You've outgrown the cycle that created the block in the first place. The doors that were closed are about to open. And what's on the other side is not chaos or confusion, it's movement, clarity, and direction. This shift will not feel like a lightning strike. It will feel like a deep exhale, like a quiet sense of permission to stop surviving and start creating. It's as if the part of you that's been on pause is finally being pressed back into motion. And the news that's coming, it might arrive as an email, a message, a chance conversation, a sudden realization, but it's not random. It's the outward echo of an inner alignment you've been working toward for months, maybe even years. You've done the inner work, even when you didn't realize it. You've kept going when everything in you wanted to give up. And now the universe is responding, not with noise, but with confirmation, not with drama, but with precision. This is not just good news. It's breakthrough news. It's the kind that changes your pace, your energy, your sense of direction, the kind that removes excuses and replaces them with open paths. Taurus, this isn't just about one lucky moment. This is the end of a karmic hold that's been quietly dictating your pace, your choices, and your sense of worth. It's the moment where you finally stop asking for permission to move forward. Something is being returned to you. Maybe it's confidence. Maybe it's clarity. Maybe it's a tangible opportunity you thought had passed you by. Whatever it is, it carries the energy of renewal, of restoration, of a long-awaited yes. And with that yes comes a cascade of alignment in places where things once felt jammed or closed. You'll feel it in your relationships too. The conversations that once felt heavy will start to open. The silence you've been carrying in a certain connection may suddenly be replaced with understanding or even closure. Someone from your past might reach out not to reopen the old wound, but to show you just how far you've come. You won't need their validation. You won't even need their apology, but their reappearance will be a mirror showing you the version of yourself you've shed and the one you've grown into. And whether you choose to reconnect or release, it will be on your terms. Emotionally, this shift will feel like relief. You've been holding your breath in more ways than you realized. You've been holding space for others while secretly neglecting your own needs. And now the universe is placing you back at the center of your own life, not in a selfish way, but in a necessary way. Because only when you're centered can you truly build, create, love, and thrive. This is your time to recalibrate. This is your time to receive. Financially, the block that's been keeping things slow is breaking too. This doesn't mean you'll win the lottery or wake up to millions overnight, but it does mean that the efforts you've been making will finally start bearing fruit. That idea you pushed aside will make sense again. That offer you thought had slipped away might resurface. The email that gets buried in your inbox will contain the very piece of the puzzle you've been missing. Stay open, stay grounded, because the opportunity that's approaching isn't just about money, it's about stability, empowerment, and growth. It's about recognizing your value in places where you once settled for less than enough. Spiritually, this moment is an upgrade. It's the universe confirming that the season of waiting, doubting, And hesitating is complete. You are being moved into a new phase not because you hustle harder, but because your soul is ready to lead from a place of alignment rather than resistance. You're no longer being asked to prove your worth. You're being asked to claim it. And when you do, when you step into this new energy without dragging the old stories behind you, you'll notice something radical: ease. Not laziness, not avoidance, but ease. The kind of ease that comes when you're no longer swimming upstream, when you're no longer convincing people to understand your heart, when you're no longer apologizing for moving at your own pace. This is what happens when the block lifts, not just in your external world, but in your inner landscape. Suddenly, life feels breathable. Ideas feel accessible. Love feels possible. And your own power no longer feels distant or conceptual. It feels natural, quiet, and embodied. Taurus, the next 2 days are not about drama. They're not about grand gestures or emotional chaos. They're about the moment when the wheel turns and you realize it's not stuck anymore. They're about noticing how light your body feels when you stop holding on to people or patterns that were never meant to stay. They're about trusting that what's arriving isn't here to tease or test you, it's here to stay. To build. To anchor. So breathe. Prepare. Not with fear, but with certainty, because this breakthrough wasn't just promised, it was earned. And now it's yours. And while this wave of movement brings long-awaited momentum, Taurus, the sky, on September 15th, 2025, holds another message too, one not about the gifts, but about what you must be willing to release in order to receive them. Because hidden beneath the softness of opportunity is a tension you can no longer overlook. This is the day the moon in Aquarius squares Uranus, your ruling planet, in Taurus. And what that means is simple: the veil is lifting. What you've ignored in others to preserve the peace will now start to feel unbearable. What you've rationalized away as just your sensitivity will rise to the surface, louder and clearer than ever before. This is the kind of square that disrupts not to destroy, but to clarify. It's the kind of cosmic friction that shows you where someone's presence in your life no longer aligns with the version of you that's stepping into this next chapter. Someone you've trusted, perhaps a friend, a colleague, or even someone in your inner circle has been holding an energy that doesn't match their words. And while it may not be outright betrayal in the traditional sense, it is a subtle resistance. It's envy masked as support. It's silence where there should have been celebration. And on this day, you'll feel it not through confrontation, but through a moment of stark inner knowing. Because Taurus, this isn't about paranoia. This is about pattern. You've been sensing a strange energy, something off. Something just beneath the surface every time you share your wins, your hopes, or your next steps. You felt the way conversations shift when you bring up certain names or dreams. You've noticed the deflection, the changed subject, the absence of genuine joy when you succeed. And as much as you've wanted to explain it away, this planetary tension won't allow it anymore. The moon's detachment in Aquarius, combined with Uranus shaking your foundation, forces your clarity into action. You'll see people more objectively now, not through the lens of potential, but through the reality of their energy. And this moment of realization, it's not about blame, it's about boundaries. You don't need to accuse or expose. You don't need to call anyone out. But you do need to pay attention. You do need to honor the signs when they show up. You do need to notice who claps when you win and who disappears when your light gets too bright for their comfort. This alignment shows you not only who is meant to walk with you into the new cycle, but also who's been quietly benefiting from your stagnation. Because as your energy begins to rise, those who preferred you quiet, hesitant, or unsure will start to pull back, not out of hate, but out of misalignment. Let them. Let the emotional static fall away. Let the truth speak without needing to make it louder than it already is. Because on this day, the skies don't just bring breakthroughs in your path, they bring revelations in your partnerships. not to wound you, but to protect you, not to push you into isolation, but to make space for right relationship. And as this lunar square does its work, you'll find that the more you let go of those whose energy no longer aligns, the more clearly you'll hear your own voice, the more confidently you'll make your choices, the more grounded you'll feel in your own pace, your own truth, your own path forward. Taurus, this day was never meant to be about fear. It was meant to be about refinement. You're not being punished. You're being tuned. And as the air shifts and the energy reveals what's real, your only job is to stay present, stay open, stay rooted in your worth, because nothing that falls away on this day was ever meant to walk with you into the next and what's coming next. Abundance, alignment, and truth that doesn't ask you to explain away what your body already knows. You're ready, and now the sky is ready. 2. And if your heart is still searching for confirmation, Taurus, the universe has already started whispering in ways only you would understand. These next 2 days are not ordinary, they are liminal, woven with subtle messages and energetic threads designed to let you know that the shift you've prayed for is not only near, but already unfolding. You may begin to notice repeating numbers times like 1111 or 1022 glowing from the corner of a phone screen, a car dashboard, or a shop receipt, small patterns that feel like nothing to the logical mind. But to your spirit, they strike with quiet resonance, reminding you that this isn't coincidence. It's orchestration. And then there are the dreams, those moments between sleep and wake where symbols rise from the depths of your subconscious like soft, glowing lanterns. You may dream of water, not chaotic, rushing tides, but still, crystalline surfaces that reflect more than they conceal. Or you may see the sun rising slowly, lighting your path, calling you to something larger than yourself. These aren't just fragments of the unconscious, they are mirrors. Mirrors that reflect a version of your life where freedom is no longer just something you fantasize about, but something you're beginning to embody. There may be a message, simple, even unassuming, that arrives without warning. It could be from someone you thought you'd never hear from again, or from a source you never expected. A line of text, an email buried in your inbox, a conversation that starts casually but reveals exactly what you needed to hear to feel something click back into place. And when it comes, Taurus, you'll feel it not in your mind, but in your chest. You'll feel the tightness start to melt, the hesitation begin to shift, the air around you take on a different texture as if something has been released. And for the first time in a long while, you're allowed to move forward without dragging invisible chains behind you. These are not dramatic signs. They are not fireworks in the sky or announcements from the mountaintop. They are soft, personal, perfectly timed, and only you will know what they mean. Only you will be able to connect the dots. And when you do, Taurus, do not second guess them. Do not talk yourself out of the knowing, because this time, the shift isn't just external, it's happening within your nervous system, within your intuition, within your cellular memory. You are not just hearing the truth, you are becoming it. Taurus, you may be wondering why now, why this week, this day, this moment. Why did it take so long for the fog to lift, for the path to clear, for the doors to finally open? And the truth is, not a single moment was wasted. Not a single delay was meaningless. Everything that has felt like a stall, eteniel, or a loop was never punishment. It was preparation. The reason this shift couldn't come sooner is because your heart wasn't ready to hold it. Not because you were weak, not because you were failing, but because the life you were asking for requires more capacity, more clarity, more truth than the version of you that was still operating in survival mode could sustain. You were still negotiating your worth. You were still compromising with energies that drained you. You were still telling stories about who you needed to be loved, accepted, understood. And the universe, in its infinite patience, waited, not to withhold your blessings, but to protect them, because it knew that if you received this opportunity too soon, you might have handed it to the wrong person. You might have sabotaged it with doubt. You might have watered it down so it wouldn't intimidate those around you. But not anymore. Now you're standing on the other side of something sacred, your own becoming. And the promise behind this shift is simple. What's meant for you can never truly miss you. But it can be delayed until you're strong enough to claim it with both hands. Without apology. Without shrinking. Without compromise. And that time is now. That's why the signs are showing up so clearly. That's why the truth is rising with such force. That's why your body is buzzing with energy. Even when your mind is still catching up, because you are no longer the version of yourself who waits for permission. You are no longer the version of yourself who filters your joy through someone else's comfort. You are no longer the version of yourself who begs the universe for breadcrumbs and calls it enough. This shift, this breakthrough, this sudden movement, it's the reward for every moment you kept going without proof. It's the blessing for every hour you spent in silence, not knowing if it was ever going to turn around. It's the manifestation of a cycle you completed not through force, but through presence, through honesty, through finally honoring your own pace, your own depth, your own sacred limits. Taurus, this is not a fluke. This is not a test. This is not temporary. This is a full circle moment. The kind that doesn't just bring new things, it brings the right things. People who speak your language, opportunities that match your value, environments that support your growth instead of stunting it. And the reason it had to happen now is because now, for the first time in a long time, you are actually ready to receive without guilt, to expand without fear, and to trust that life is not punishing you for your patience, but finally rewarding you for your faith. This is the moment you stop settling. This is the moment you stop rehearsing the past. This is the moment you stop waiting for closure from people who were never meant to define your worth. And as the shift unfolds gently, undeniably, you'll begin to realize that the block wasn't out there. It was inside you. It was in the parts of you that still believed you had to earn what is already yours by birthright. It was in the parts of you that still thought you had to carry others on your back in order to feel valuable. But this new season isn't built on sacrifice. It's built on sovereignty. And you, Taurus, have never been more ready to live from that place. So breathe into this. Let it land. Let it soften you. Let it remind you that you're not behind, that nothing has been lost, that everything you've gone through has brought you to this one truth: you are allowed to outgrow your struggle. You are allowed to experience ease. You are allowed to move forward, even when others stay behind, because the promise behind this shift is not just a better life, it's a more truthful one. One where you finally stop fighting for a seat at tables that never knew how to nourish you and start building your own. From the ground up, with hands that remember what it means to trust their own rhythm again. Taurus, if there's one thing I want you to carry with you from this moment forward, it's this: your power was never lost. It was never taken from you. It was simply redirected, buried beneath layers of compromise, hidden behind the masks you wore to survive, delayed only because you needed time to remember who you were before the world taught you to shrink. All those months, maybe years, of waiting for clarity, for movement, for a sign that you weren't crazy for, still holding on to hope that wasn't wasted time. That was sacred recalibration. That was divine construction happening inside your soul. Because here's the deeper truth. Taurus, what you're stepping into now was always meant for you. But it could only arrive when you were no longer willing to betray yourself just to belong. And now, after everything, you're finally there. You're no longer chasing validation. You're no longer performing for love. You're no longer staying small so that others don't feel left behind. You are not who you were 6 months ago. You are not who you were last week. You are the version of yourself that learned to sit in stillness and listen, that learned to lose with grace, that learned to grieve without giving up, that learned to trust your timing, even when nothing made sense on the surface. And now you're rising, quietly, steadily, unapologetically. You are walking into a timeline that does not require you to prove anything, only to be everything you already are. The relationships ahead will feel different, cleaner, safer, less dramatic. The opportunities will come not because you pushed harder, but because you finally stopped fighting yourself. And even when fears try to creep in, even when old thoughts come back to test you, you'll notice something new. Your center holds. You no longer spiral like you used to. You no longer panic in the silence. You meet your triggers with compassion and your uncertainty with breath that are. You meet your triggers with compassion because now, not just mentally, but in your body, in your bones, you know that you are supported, that you are guided, that you are not behind, not broken, not forgotten. You are exactly where you are meant to be, on the edge of the most powerful reintroduction of your life. So when the message comes, when the door opens, when the energy shifts, don't hesitate. Don't look over your shoulder. Don't water it down. Receive it fully. Walk through it completely. Let it change you. Let it bless you. Let it remind you that you are not just a survivor of your past, but a steward of your future. Because this next chapter isn't about struggle. It's about expansion. It's about peace that doesn't have to be earned. Love that doesn't ask you to perform. And a life that finally feels like yours. You don't owe anyone your silence anymore. You don't owe the past another explanation. You don't owe fear another minute of your precious time. What you owe to your soul, to your future, to every version of yourself that held on when it would have been easier to give up, is to live this next chapter all the way out. Loud, clear, and whole. You are not becoming, you are returning. And the world is finally ready to meet you where you've always belonged. Welcome home. Taurus. The new cycle begins now.